What is going on, YouTube, and welcome to Detroit Lions Talk with Mike. We talk all things Detroit Lions, news, rumors, analysis, breakdown, and everything regarding our franchise. In this video, we're going to be talking about Kenny Golladay and the franchise tag. Jason Canfora stated around the league that he believes Kenny Golladay is going to get the franchise tag. People around the league believe he's going to get the franchise tag, and this has big-time implications upon our Detroit Lions. Now, it's just Jason Canfora, so that is just somewhat of a rumor, but it is news, and we're going to explore the concept of the Lions using the franchise tag on our star wide receiver. The good, the bad, and the ugly. We'll get all into that and give the idea of what this could mean for the Detroit Lions. Before we jump into this video, if you're not a subscriber and over 60% of you who watch my content are not, hit that big red subscribe button. That's how you can help me out and support my channel. Without further ado, let's just get straight into it. The reports are he's going to get franchise tagged. So what does that mean for the Detroit Lions? Well, if you franchise tag Kenny Golladay, it does give Jared Goff that number one wide receiver that he's going to need. We don't have depth at the wide receiver position. As you can see here, that is not good depth. If you add Kenny Golladay to that mix, it makes things a little bit easier, considering the fact you do have TJ Hockenson. Quintez Cephas is developing. I think it would help his development by having a star like Kenny Golladay on there. And the Detroit Lions still has free agency and the NFL draft to really supplement and get another threat for the Detroit Lions in Jared Goff. With that said, having that wide receiver there and franchising tag Kenny Golladay, it's going to cost the Detroit Lions $16.43 million via franchise tag for the wide receiver position. That's quite a bit of money, and it does cash strap the Detroit Lions for the NFL season. But at some point, you got to spend the money, right? So you might as well spend it on the wide receiver. Reports earlier suggested that Kenny Golladay turned down a $16 million contract extension for the Detroit Lions. So if they franchise tagged Kenny Golladay, it's generally the same amount of money. Comment on the video. Do you want the Detroit Lions to franchise tag Kenny Golladay? It is very simple. Do you think that, just like the rest of the league and Jason Canfora, the Lions are going to tag him, and it's a smart idea to keep him in Detroit for the 2022 NFL season? Let me know and comment. So from that standpoint, it makes sense for the Detroit Lions to franchise tag Kenny Golladay. Look, Goff may have to show a little bit of something, and if you give him Kenny Golladay, that is a good piece for him to use. Have that weapon back for the Lions. They can supplement it with another draft pick, and this offense can hum a little bit. If you remove Kenny Golladay, this offense probably tanks more because we're not going to have a Marvin Jones Jr. on this football team who did help out with Kenny Golladay being missing. With that said, he was missing due to injury. So if the Detroit Lions do tag Kenny Golladay, it's the presumption that you hope this man is on the field for 16 games. And then possibly you can work out a future deal for the wide receiver for the upcoming years in Detroit. It would solidify that wide receiver, at least for the number one spot, for many years, and it'll give them more time to figure out what does Kenny Golladay want. With that said, if they do not sign Kenny Golladay, then he is going to be hitting free agency next year unless they double up on the franchise tag. And guess what? That is not going to happen because the amount of money would exceedingly go up. Now, what if the Detroit Lions decide to not franchise tag him, inability to extend him, so then he goes on the open market? What would that look like for the Detroit Lions? Well, you're going to lose a major weapon for a young quarterback in Jared Goff. We've seen the depth at the position, and that is not something you want to see. No Marvin Jones, no Kenny Golladay. You're throwing Cephas into the Wolves. He's going to jump as an immediate starter, and that is not good to have him as a number one just yet. You're losing a young, developing wide receiver. Kenny Galladay's not that old, folks. He's only 26 years old. We drafted him in the 3rd round, and it seems like he's getting better and better every year. He has a very good widespread catching radius who can catch the ball and make big-time plays for the Lions quarterback, and you would be losing a weapon such as that. The wide receiver core is bad. Losing a major weapon is going to hurt the separation of the wide receivers currently on the roster and who would be on the roster regarding free agency and or the NFL draft. On a positive note, it does save the Detroit Lions a ton of money. And it's important with this cash cap-strapped year, the Detroit Lions save some sort of money to help get players under contracts such as a Romeo Okwara, maybe other free agents they may covet in free agency, and you still have to go ahead and pay the individuals you draft for. So there's many aspects to this, and you got to understand the Detroit Lions are in a rebuild/retool mode. You don't have all the money in the world. You have a lot of players you have to consider going forward who is going to be on the team, and you're going to be going in a different type of direction regarding how the Lions offense operates. As you heard from Dan Campbell, they really want to run the football. They want to become a team that's more balanced. Is Kenny Golladay going to be in the plans for such a retool/rebuild mode? And also another factor is the Detroit Lions are probably not going to be good this year. So you're having a player on your team worth a lot of money, and you may know that you're not going to be in a playoff run anyway. It's an interesting aspect to look at. And if they don't re-sign him, what do you get in return? Well, there's a great chance if he hits the market that Kenny Golladay is going to get a big contract to another football team. Now, the last thing we need is Kenny Golladay to go to the Chicago Bears, the Minnesota Vikings, and or the Green Bay Packers. It's possible. You hit the open market, he can sign anywhere. But if he signs a big contract, and he would, the Detroit Lions would get a third-round compensatory pick, and that's important for 2022. We already started by getting a first-round draft pick from the Goff trade for the next 2 years. Next year, we would then get another third-round draft pick to add to that, making a large sum of individuals who you can draft to rebuild the football team going forward. So you do get something, but you're not going to get it in 2021. That would be in the next year following. What happens if the Detroit Lions decide to franchise tag Kenny Golladay, but turn around and trade him? Understanding the concept is they don't think they'll be able to get a long-term deal for Kenny Golladay. He is demanding too much money, and the Lions are inability to afford that money. So what do? They franchise tag him and send him to another team where that team can go ahead and sign a long-term deal for Kenny Golladay. Well, it's going to hurt you in 2021 because if you do trade Kenny Golladay under the franchise tag, you're probably going to get a draft pick, a second-round draft pick. So you're not getting a player in return, and you're going to have issues on offense with the Lions' bad depth at wide receiver core, a young quarterback in Jared Goff, and a team that's in a rebuild mode. So you're taking a team of strength in the wide receiver position, and you're making that a weakness in 2021. It does save money. You're going to save that money from the franchise tag. Again, $16.4 million is no chump change. If they decided to do that, their, again, ability to sign other players such as Romeo Okwara and or sign other free agents in free agency that may want. Maybe they want to go ahead and start to build this defense up, and they want to use every single dollar that they have to do so. They would get a high draft pick for Kenny Golladay. Make no mistake about it. You're not going to get a 4th or a 5th or a 6th or 7th for Kenny Golladay. You're probably going to get a second-round draft pick, and it could be a high second-round draft pick, and that would be vital for a rebuild. Look at what the Minnesota Vikings did last year. They had Diggs. What did they do? They traded him to the Buffalo Bills. They got a first-round pick in return, and they drafted Justin Jefferson, who became a star for their team. That could be a concept for the Detroit Lions. You go ahead, ship Kenny Golladay out, utilize that draft capital, and turn around and draft a young wide receiver who could potentially be a very good quality player for the Detroit Lions in 2022 going forward. It's a risk, though, because when you're drafting players, it's not guaranteed they're going to be stars. Kenny Golladay, a lot of people didn't like him when he got drafted in the third round, and he became a star. That doesn't happen all the time. You'd have to be trusting Brad Holmes' capability of finding young players who can help out a team out. Kenny Golladay is a star now. Now, he may be a little bit injured. He may not be the greatest wide receiver in the NFL, but he's a very good piece for a NFL football team who can make a difference on the field and potentially make that big-time play to either win a game and help the team go to the next level. It is definitely a risk-reward regarding the Kenny Golladay situation. In my view, what I would do is I would franchise tag Kenny Golladay, see what the price is. Now, if he's demanding a major contract, I'm sorry, I cannot keep him. I would trade him from that aspect. If he is willing to do a one-year deal, renegotiate a contract after the 2022 season, because his production went up, I would consider that. And or if the team is very bad and they start soft, they franchised him, you could trade him before the trade deadline in October. There are many options the Detroit Lions could take, but I do believe to let him walk, you could ruin the chance of getting a better draft pick. A compensatory 3 is not bad, but I think a number 2 would be better. In the upcoming videos, we got the live One Pride podcast on my channel at 6:30 p.m. EST. It's a fun show. We take questions. It's called the mailbag segment. You got questions, we have answers. Ask us live. We love interacting. That's what this channel's all about. Taking the One Pride Nation, coming together, and having our voice heard. And yes, they do hear us, folks. Also, every Tuesday at 7 p.m. EST, we got Spiked Kool-Aid on the Gridiron Blitzes channel. It is fun. It's a hot show. It's all about getting deep into minute details and having fun doing so. Make sure you are there.